patronizing.
We'll call to order the September 10th meeting of the Urbana Free Library Board of Directors. At this time, we'd have a roll call.
John.
Present.
Sheree.
Here.
Beth.
Here.
Chris.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Barbara.
Here.
Lupe. Here. Mrs. Jane and Barben.
Are there any corrections, additions, or modifications to the agenda?
Move approval of the agenda.
Is there- All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Public comment. Don't see any publics. The strategy planning, and I think I'll have to start with Barb and her report about Jane, first of all.
Okay, my report about Jane is that she has a lot of challenging health issues right now, and I thought it would be nice to, if the board and any staff who wanted to could send her something. Her best friend said cookies, and so I bought her a whole bunch of cookies. I will wrap them and I will deliver them, and there's a card going around that, and if anybody wants to give me $1 or $2 to help with it, it's fine. If you don't have it with you, this is not a problem. But thank you, and that's the story.
And Barb has to leave early, so.
And yes, I
And
have
where
to
is the
leave
card
early.
now? Is it here on the table?
I think.
Okay, that's where it is,
Okay,
yeah, okay.
okay.
If you would make sure you sign it before you leave, and give it to Celeste, and then I'll pick it up from Celeste and
okay.
put it with the cookies. Thank you.
Okay, do you want to report on anything for the committee?
No, I think, I haven't been to a meeting, I don't think, since we all met at the last meeting. Oh. So no, I don't. I get confused with how many meetings I've been to. I think the last one was.
It's called
with-
coming or
I mean,
going.
I've met with Celeste and Amanda on Friday, and briefly with Celeste just now for a half an hour, because I do have to leave early today, and I feel like I'm all up to date and comfortable with what's going on. And I love the embracing, I love that. Oh my God, that was you, right? Oh geez, that's good. So, anyway, thank you.
Okay,
So the process team did meet right after the board met, and Barbara couldn't make that one meeting, but the process team met and looked over the agenda for the meeting today for you, and then gave feedback on that and for the potential ideas for the vision and mission statements, and that was the staff, community members, board members, and then they looked at the staff agenda as well for the action sections as well, which will happen after your meeting tonight.
Okay,
So,
so I think we're ready, Amanda, for you to pour it to us.
are you sure?
I'm sure.
All right, let's do this. So, as we like to start all of our strategic planning sessions, we talk about where we've been and where we're going. I'm going to pass the timeline around. Oh, can I have one actually? Sure. In case you need a reminder if you don't have this printed or don't have it memorized by now. Just to catch us up, it seems like we were just here talking about strategic planning, and tonight's a big step forward, I think, in the process. So we've been meeting since February. We've had a process team that's been working to continue to move the process along. We've done an environmental scan. We've done a SOAR analysis. We've looked at vision and mission, just giving general ideas, talked about what those are, and we're going to talk more about those in a little while. We also talked about the library sector in general. We had a community survey, we did focus groups, we did interviews, we had a learning report. And at our last meeting, we really dug into that learning report and thought about, what does this mean for us? How do we organize our thoughts going forward, and new things that we want to do too. So tonight is about starting to fill in our strategic plan outline. And so I'm going to pass around, if you don't have a copy of this, please feel free to take one. This is our working document. This is kind of a representation of where we've gotten with our planning process. These are the elements of our strategic plan. So vision, mission, we're going to talk about those last. I like to build up to vision, mission, have these other conversations first, and do vision and mission last as an informed piece of the entire process. Our strategic directions, our definitions for our strategic directions. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on that tonight. On the back side, you'll see we've got space to fill in goals. I put some comments at the bottom, some bullet points. These came from your last meeting, just kind of like, what are we thinking each of these things mean? So we captured some of that and put it into your outline. And then we have some woven strategies that we're going to spend a little bit of time on too. I want to pass around an example of a filled in strategic planning outline so you can get a sense of where we're going with this. I don't want you to be concerned about the words on this page. This is another library, very different demographics, but I want you to have a sense of what our outline will look like when we've worked through this process. So you can see on this, they've got one vision and one mission, whereas we have lots of ones that we're considering right now. So eventually, we'll get down to one mission statement and one vision statement. This library has 3 strategic directions. They have definitions, kind of how the boundaries they're putting on these directions that they're moving. They have goal statements. They have example activities. That's what the staff will work on during their strategic planning retreat. And then at the very bottom, they have potential metrics. And again, that's another staff piece. We will talk a little bit about impact and metrics in a little bit. But that's just input into the staff thinking about, okay, if we're doing these activities, how do we know that these things are moving forward and helping us meet the goals? So there's still a lot of elements that need to come together as part of this plan. But tonight, our work on the strategic directions will really move us forward and really start to fill out our outline, so it will start to look more like Highland Parks. This document, when it's filled in, your outline, that will inform the actual strategic plan document, the one-page plan document, which you've seen some examples of one-page strategic plans, and then it will also inform the activity plan and the evaluation framework that staff will work on. So this document, even when it's filled in, is not really a public document. It's really just a working document that we are using to organize our thoughts as we put together the documents that are public documents that we will be using over the next 3 years. So we're just using this now because we need something to capture everything that we've been talking about. So I'll pause for just a second to see if you have questions before I talk specifically about our agenda for the evening.
So
Yes.
just a comment. So as I understand it, what we're doing is we're giving you high-level direction, you being staff, and so in other words, not too precise, but high-level direction, and then we are relying on your expertise, you staff folks, expertise that we don't necessarily have, not all of us anyway. And then I gather you'll come back and be able to report and say that here's something you guys thought of. Here's how we think we should go forward in terms of more direct action. Is that accurate?
So the board won't have direct input into the activity plan. Rather, so staff will develop the activity plan and have specific activities to achieve the goals that you set. The staff will then come back and say, all right, we've done all of these things. Here's the proof that we have that we're achieving these goals. And then you will discuss it kind of at that level. So you're right in that the board will set kind of those high-level directions. Staff will say, okay, so what do we need to do to achieve those things that the board says they want us to achieve? How are we going to prove that we've done these things? And then the reporting that we'll come back with on a annual basis, on a quarterly basis, we haven't decided a reporting schedule yet, will kind of be that melding of the activities and the evidence of goal achievement.
And it doesn't mean the board doesn't have the chance to A, first have the report come to the board, but then B, if there's something about the way staff is carrying out these goals, I mean, it doesn't mean we can't ask questions about it.
Oh, for sure.
And even challenge staff if we think that
Yes.
staff's not doing something that's consistent.
Yeah, we love to get ideas. Some of those will fit in with, where we are in terms of working towards different goals. Some might need to wait a little bit. It's going to be really difficult for all of you tonight to stay at that level and not go to activities because that's our brains organize our thoughts in that way. Like, oh, we want to do more with outreach. Oh, well, we can contact this person and contact this person. That's what our brains are going to want to do. And I'm going to ask the question of, okay, so if we do those things, what will that help us achieve in the community? That's the place I want to get you to. So it doesn't mean you can't talk about those activities. but I'm gonna redirect your thoughts of like, all right, if we do all of that, what does that mean? How does that help move the library forward in terms of impact in the community? So activities are not off limits, they're just a means to an end, and the end being, think about that impact that we wanna see. Does that make sense? Okay. So you'll hear me saying that a lot. So, okay, if we do that, what does that mean? How's that going to get us towards a goal? What's the goal we're trying to achieve by doing those things? Okay? Any other questions kind of about where we're at or where we're trying to get to with our outline? Okay, so let me talk about our agenda tonight. We have a lot to do in the time that we're spending. We're going to actually have a series of 4 discussions, one on each of the specific strategic directions that we've started to outline. All 4 of these discussions will have the same format, but they'll be the 4 different topics. So we'll start off together as a group and we'll say, okay, the first strategic direction is embrace. And we'll say, what does that mean to all of us? How do we define that? What does that look like here? And we'll just jot some things down. That's our attempt to kind of define the boundaries of embrace. Then we'll break into our groups, and I've got the handy dandy worksheets for you to take some notes on, and we'll be asking things like, okay, so if that's how we're defining it, what are the things we want to achieve in that particular strategic direction? What does success look like? And hopefully, you'll start to see some patterns, and we'll start to be able to categorize some things. You've started to do that a little bit with the bullet points that are on the back, so that can also guide your thinking as well too. It may still be very messy at the end of those discussions, and you may still say, well, I don't know how these fit into goals. Don't worry about that. That's our job, the process team's job, to take all that feedback back and make those words fit right. But I think you'll start to see some patterns and feel like, oh, so this is what this means, and here's how we're gonna do this in the community. So after you have your discussions at your tables, we'll do just a quick report out. I'll ask the tables to, again, give me those sheets that you're taking notes on, because those will be very important for putting the plan together later. And then we'll do it again for the next strategic direction. So we'll do that 4 different times for each strategic direction. We'll spend 20 to 30 minutes per strategic direction. So it's not long period of time, but rather just, let's get thinking about this. Let's think about these different areas that we want to dig into more. We'll take a break at that point, because after we do 4 rounds of this, it's going to be a little bit of time. We'll come back and talk about those woven strategies that you identified, partnerships and outreach and marketing, and figure out how those support the rest of the plan. There are lots of other woven strategies that we didn't necessarily identify, things like IT or even funding really, and we'll think about like how do we maybe call these things out, or where do they fit within the plan? And then finally we'll talk about vision and mission, and I've got some worksheets and thoughts about how we'll do that, but we'll wait and talk about that when we get there. So, questions about our agenda? Let's jump in then. So our first strategic direction is talking about embrace. Let me get my flip chart going here. So as we've had, 2 weeks, I guess, to kind of think about these words and what they mean and how we define them for the library. So as you think about embrace, how do we define this? What's the scope of this? And why is this important?
So this is where somehow we would be calling out the embracing, welcoming weekend of the community, but one of the themes that we had brought earlier were teens.
Yes.
And we had also talked about adults and,
Yes.
and children. So those are 3 different populations
Yes.
that we deemed important to focus on,
Okay.
to embrace.
All right.
You can call them populations, I call them audiences.
Audiences, sure.
I
All
mean,
right.
Yeah, it's
Material, but
yeah.
Yeah, I like breaking it down that way, but also in terms of situation, I'm thinking of immigrants, for example, where they'd be in all 3 of those groups, and we need to welcome them. And that goes with the whole community theme of welcoming, and
Mm-hmm.
the Y calls it the Welcome Center, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is that in some ways, buildings embrace people. Just to think about
Think of our
that.
spaces.
Yeah,
Okay.
And as long as we're breaking it down with audiences, I think maybe the low-income audience, I don't know how
Sure.
to, I don't know how to define that without being insulting.
Yeah, maybe underserved or
Yeah.
thinking about people who maybe aren't connected with us so much. Okay.
or that really need our services, like an internet, like they might not have high-speed internet at home.
Mhm.
And they really might not, I mean, a lot of us use stuff here, but really could afford a book if we wanted to punch a button on Amazon, but some people can't.
Sure. Mhm.
When we do a listing of specific areas, I mean, we're targeting, and I'm wondering, why are we leaving anybody out? So when I think of
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
leaving no one behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should say equity, I don't know.
But how impossible to know, to measure.
Well, I mean,
what
we
you left
serve a
behind.
community,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
Right.
we want the entire community
Right.
Mhm.
right.
to feel embraced.
Yeah, because we haven't mentioned disability here. And
Yeah, I mean, this is a great
Yeah.
list, but there are probably 37 that we are not listing.
Right.
Yeah. So
That's why
thinking
we're-
about it holistically rather than delineating different
Yeah, that's-
populations.
That's kind of what we're getting
Mhm.
at.
Because I think when you list particular target groups, it leads you very quickly into action items.
Right,
Yeah.
and these would be,
Because
yeah.
how do we,
exactly.
some
Yeah.
action item
Yeah.
is, how do we address teens or adults
Sure.
or children?
Yeah,
or-
Right.
Yeah. And you don't want it to go there.
Because I've been taught.
In school.
So, if we are holistically reaching the community and making them feel welcome here and embracing them through all the different things that we're doing, what does that mean to the community? What does the community look like if we're doing that? How do people feel about the library if that's happening?
That it includes them.
Yeah, they see themselves here, right?
Ownership.
Yeah.
Ownership, yeah. Mhm.
Awesome. What do you feel when you have ownership over something?
Take care of it.
Yeah. How else do you feel when you feel ownership
You
over
value
something?
it.
Value.
Value. Yeah, I like that.
Are you proud of it?
Yeah, have pride is, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go to a place that you feel like you're included?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to be here?
Yes.
If you have resources, you fund it.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Part of taking care of it.
Value. Anything else? How do you feel about places that you're welcome and included?
You feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
safe,
safe. Yeah.
secure.
This also segues into our next category, because I think if you feel that way about a place, it enriches your life.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a sanctuary.
Yep.
Oh, I like sanctuary. Okay. Anything else? So let's break into our groups. Now that we've kind of put some boundaries on this, what does this mean? What are things maybe we might be paying attention to? How is this going to make us feel if we're making progress in this area? We want to get into our groups and talk about our questions. So our questions are, given how we're defining this, what do we hope to achieve? What are goals? How can we organize these thoughts into possible goals underneath this strategy? And then why would we work towards these goals? What's the impact that we're going to have in the community? We've already talked a little bit about impact, but think a little bit more about that why. So Chris, John, Sharice, and Barbie, who I know is not here, go here. Beth, Lupe, Michael, and Barbara over there. I'll give you your handouts when you get there. You'll notice that there's basically one page per strategic direction, so we'll just keep using these throughout the night, and hopefully someone will take some notes and give these back to me. Okay, let's reconvene and report out.
It's wonderful.
So, Beth, I think I'll have you report yours first, and I would love, because of how you guys are structuring your conversations,
Okay.
would you read them together?
Sure, I
Thank
will.
you. It would make more sense to everyone if you do that.
Sure, so the first goal is we have raised the literacy level of our community writ large. So every type of literacy. And why? Well, we want our community to thrive. And what's the impact? We're gonna have a more highly skilled workforce.
Okay.
So, next goal, we provide opportunities for personal growth and development. Why? We want our community members to achieve personal success and satisfaction.
Okay.
What's the impact? We're going to have more engaged community members, and everyone benefits from that. So more engagement in the community. Next goal, we provide resources that opens a window to the world. Why? We want to stimulate curiosity about the world. The impact, we have a more knowledgeable and tolerant community. In our last goal, we provide a social infrastructure for the exchange of ideas and knowledge. Why? We want to reduce social isolation and encourage civil discourse. The impact, well, everyone has a better quality of life.
Yeah, good, awesome, thank you. Anybody else from your group want to add to that? No? Okay. John?
Lots of overlap.
Yeah.
To say the least. Greater quality among a diverse people in the community, greater commonality, fewer feel marginalized.
Yeah.
Better and more vibrant community. We help you wherever you are. So that's to create a feeling of empowerment. More vibrancy in the community, which goes back to the point we said before about self-actualization and all the positives that follow from that. Less apathy, give people more hope. Knowledge breeds hope. More engaged community. So we talked about like a bar graph where you have, this is a community that's filled with PhDs, the people that aren't just highly educated, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're smarter one place or the other. But by creating resources, you're raising the bars that are lower, and that makes it easier to have community, to where people consider themselves to be neighbors and can work together. There's an esprit de corps that comes from the lack of, sometimes it's even intimidation when you're around people that you.
So being an equalizer.
Whatever reason. Yeah, in a good way. I mean, that can be
Yeah.
seen kind of negatively, but
Sure.
we saw it as more positive. Fewer criminal justice problems, so that's the result of a community that we're just talking about. Sort of the neighborhoods that raise the kids, right? So those are good neighborhoods where
For sure.
everybody knows who belongs to anybody else. Stronger social fabric.
Yes.
So that means people don't slip through the cracks, or as likely to slip through the cracks.
Yeah, awesome. Anybody else in your group want to add to that, Chris or Schultz? No? Okay. Awesome, great, good discussions. Okay, so we're on to empower. You guys are pros at this now that you know how these conversations go. So the board had originally talked about empower, touching on social justice, talking about personal empowerment, talking about that civil discourse, that some of these things have already come up before. So how do we define empower? What's the scope? Why is this important?
Well, I would say provide tools to facilitate personal and community growth.
Giving everybody a voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And working off giving everybody communication skills.
Okay.
Where does motivate work in this? Empower, to motivate, and I don't know,
To motivate or personal motivation?
to motivate.
Okay, talk more about that.
Well, I don't know. Empowerment to me is not what we do. I mean, we've given them the opportunity, but they have to, individual has to create, become motivated, and I don't know how you motivate.
Okay.
That's what I'm fighting there, I don't know.
Well, I think you, one, give them the tools.
Tools, yeah.
Is it also part of helping them connect with their personal motivation? I mean, there's a lot of research actually on how people are motivated externally, internally, if they're motivated by rewards, like stuff like that. So does the library, think about our summer reading program, not to get to activities, but we give prizes, right, to motivate kids to read. So is it like cultivating that motivation?
Maybe that's tools to cultivate.
Okay, well, and also discovering motivation too, right? Okay.
About the notion of a pathway, so
Yeah.
if we,
That's good, yeah.
we are creating different paths, but they all lead to the same place,
Better.
which is a better, yeah, which is personal and community growth.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If we're doing these things for people, if we're providing them tools for personal community growth, we're helping people find a voice, giving them a platform, teaching them how to communicate, helping them learn about their motivation, giving them pathways, how does this make them feel?
Empowered.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, actually,
Fulfilled.
fulfilled, yeah, that's a better word,
Control.
yeah.
Yeah.
In control.
Yeah, they're powerful. They feel powerful over the direction of their life, right?
Most people want to be the best that they can be, so closer to the best version of themselves.
Yeah. What would it mean to the community to have a bunch of people who feel like this in the community?
There's nothing that
You can't hold them
they can't
back.
accomplish.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have
Safe.
people in the community looking out for other members of the community, so it helps, kind of going back to that lifting everyone up. So you
Yeah.
have people that are
Yeah.
respecting and looking out for other people.
Better problem solvers.
Yeah, that's good. Problem solvers. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, sending you back to your groups with your 2 questions.
Build society, better neighbors, better problem solvers, more, can't read my writing.
That's bad news for me.
Better
Can't read his writing.
sense, oh, are we turning these in? Better sense of perspective. This is where it got a little murky. To recognize the difference between first
See, I
and third
think-
world
yeah.
problems. Make community better for all, reach potential. Make progress towards your potential at least. Inspire self-confidence. Make people less risk averse. So at your fingertips, you have what you need to do great things.
Yeah. Cool. Love it. Val,
Excellent.
how about yours?
Okay, so we were more higher level and spinning on this, since we covered a lot of this in
Yeah.
some of our other discussions. So we stuck to, what's our goal? We provide a forum for community engagement. And why? Well, because we can provide a safe environment for the community, and basically we are the only space right now available to all the community with the Civic Center going.
Yeah,
So-
that's true.
So that's, and what's the impact? Well, there's this place to share ideas and to solve problems. And then the other one is we promote self-advocacy and community advocacy. And why are we doing this? Well, we're helping people improve themselves, and we're helping the community improve
Yeah.
itself. And the impact, the community thrives in all the various ways.
I think you've started to notice, and I know this group specifically talked about like, oh, these are starting to blur and overlap, so that will be part of the process team's challenge is to how are we differentiating these things and making them so it's not like, oh, we're just doing all these activities and it's going to cover all these goals. We want to make sure these are distinctive things that we're working towards. So don't worry, it'll work itself out, even though right now it feels very like muddy and blurred. So we have one more of these to do. And we actually have 2 words we're considering. So part of this particular conversation is also recommending a word from your group to describe this strategic direction. The process team has suggested elevate or enhance. This is all about organizational capacity. So, we talked a little bit about, this is where the building expansion or building projects fits. We talked about funding and board and staff training and development. So how are we going to define this particular strategic direction? What's the scope of this? And why is it important?
Well, I have gauging available and needed resources.
Yes.
Hey, did you start ahead of time? Cheater. Good, good.
That's something you would do.
Yeah.
Sure. And so part of that's alignment too, right? Thinking about.
Yeah, what do we need on the one hand versus what do we have?
Yeah. Okay, what else?
So this is when we're talking about, some of this is when we're talking about board and staff training development. This is where we get a little bit into IT. And creating the
sure.
digital platforms needed to help carry this out. So this is a little more of a physical
Yeah.
piece to this.
Okay.
So I'm seeing this more as this has more of a tangible physical
Sure.
part. And there are different physical assets that part of the building expansion, but maybe some of them are just rethinking the spaces besides
Yeah.
expanding the spaces.
Yeah,
To help
so-
meet the community needs, the changing community needs, just like
Sure.
what we've done with this room and the maker lab, and repurposing the closets and staff space, what staff need.
Yeah, this is much less kind of philosophical out there and more
Yeah.
like, what does our structure look like? What do our digital spaces look like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Money,
Yeah.
one word.
Good, just dollar sign.
Yeah.
Dollar bills.
And of course, there's money implications on all the strategic directions, but by setting this aside, it allows you to, give some focus to it. Okay. What else is in the scope of organizational development?
Leadership.
Yep.
That's good.
Don't I get away from a little bit, there's a little bit, there could be some organizational transformation
Okay.
in this.
What does that mean to you?
To me, that means it goes beyond the board and staff training development, but it means maybe thinking about how the staff departments are organized to, again, meet these changing needs of our library patrons,
Mission.
community members, audiences,
Mhm.
other.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we're paying attention to these things, if we're thinking about funding and the funding that we need to carry out these things, if we're thinking about the structures we need, IT, building, digital structures, we're thinking about our leadership, if we're thinking about how we're transforming the organization and what do people need to have the skills to do that and what kinds of structures do we need, what does that mean for the library?
It just lets us better meet the needs. of our
Yes,
patrons.
so we're equipped to meet needs.
To meet needs. We may be more efficient.
Yes.
Efficiency, yeah.
Okay.
We may be more effective.
Yep.
All these E words. Efficient, effective.
And stunning.
I don't know that you're ready for it, but you were looking for an E word here. I guess I think the organizational capacity is a good term itself, and I don't feel like we have to stick with 4
Sure.
E words. So
Yeah.
I kind of like organizational capacity.
Well,
Just
and there's
thought.
also, and I'll let your groups talk about this separately, but there's also an argument to be made that this is a woven strategy too. That these are all things that need to be considered as you're thinking about those other strategic directions. And you'll also recall
Yeah.
that I'm the one
Yeah.
who said you guys need to talk about this because you need to set it off and you need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Whether it's within the context of those 3 strategies or it's its own separate one. And that's up to you to decide. If you feel like you need the separate emphasis of having it be a strategic direction, or if it's something that as you're looking at those other strategies, you're making sure all of these things are thought about within there. So I'll let you talk about that in your group too. Okay. Anything else you want to put about how you're defining this or what this means?
So I'm thinking, an outcome of this is actually better staff satisfaction, job
Yes,
satisfaction.
absolutely. Well, and board satisfaction
And board
too, right?
satisfaction, sure.
We don't have to be happy, just be effective.
Anything else? Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'll send you back to your groups for our last round. We'll take a break after this one, so. Okay, let's report out on this and then we'll do a little break. So Beth, you want to report yours?
Sure. Okay. So our goals are we provide adequate physical space to serve the needs of the community. And why? Well, it's essential for quality programming and quality services. And the impact improves satisfaction from everyone who comes to the library.
Yeah.
Second goal, we provide the digital infrastructure that improves accessibility to resources. There'll be lots of resources. Why? So we're a dynamic organization, and the impact, it helps our community stay current. 3, we are an environmentally responsible organization. Why? We want to be good stewards of our planet, and the impact, we have a healthier community. And the last one is we engage our staff. And why? We want to, increase staff engagement. All right, I lost a word here, but the impact
You're
is.
talking about satisfaction.
Yeah, the impact is, all right, I lost something. Impact is good job satisfaction of the staff and retention.
Yeah.
All right, so somehow they're.
Just to
Yeah,
add
what
and
did I
kind of
miss?
back up, the start of that conversation
thank you,
was
Lupe.
the debate
Yes.
between, do we include
Yes,
this
thank
as
you.
a separate item, or, should it be woven into the rest of the strategies? And
Right.
we kind of went back and forth, and ultimately, what Beth gave you was a shared vision of it being its own goal, or its own, I guess, strategic pillar, really in the interest of transparency, number one.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
number two, to give us that very tangible thing. We thought about, everything was very directed, kind of very lofty towards the community, but this also gave us some structural framework that was going to be integral to everything else that
Yeah.
we were doing. So when we talk about a development thing, if we're asking people to fund the library, support the library, giving them something tangible to say, these are the big goals that
Right.
we're working on, may make that more relevant.
So it's a very grounding force
Yeah.
to
So,
have
and-
this as its own strategic direction.
Right. And so we kind of stuck with the words, and we were leaning towards, I threw out the word expand, but I thought enhance, of our E words, kind of, we were enhancing our physical spaces, our digital spaces, our environment, our staff, and just kind of promoting those things
Okay.
separately.
Great.
So.
Good.
Well, that's tough to follow. Well, yeah, a lot of overlap. We'll gild the lily. So to effectively and efficiently serve the community. And so they broke it down between the physical side and the technological side. When we say it this way, that means both. And the same is true, so when we talk about creating a path to resources from anywhere in Urbana, and that, you could even maybe expand beyond that, because that also is physical in
Yeah.
terms of,
Yeah.
we talked about some places in Urbana that that's not, they don't even maybe even think of the right way to get there because it's sort of remote, which is odd, but some people actually believe that. To set the stage for future community development. So we talked a lot about not just the people that had the foresight to create this library, but in other contexts too. So we have an exceptional high school and middle school, and we have great parks. And so would we be satisfied with what we have now being left to those who will follow in, say, 25 years,
Yeah,
50
so
years?
thinking about those community pillars and,
Right.
yeah, and caring for this one as a community pillar.
Right. So why do these things matter?
Mhm.
We had trouble coming up with anything other than to achieve our mission, because that covers pretty much.
Everything.
Yeah.
So it begs the question of what our mission is. We're not there yet.
Sure.
But, I mean,
Will be soon.
we've talked about all the concepts of enhancing or creating a more civilized society and
Embracing and enriching.
all of that, but in
Yeah.
a word, it's
Yeah, okay.
achieve the mission.
So did your group kind of agree that, yes, this should be its own strategic direction, or did you feel like it did weave into the other ones? Or did you talk about that?
We did actually talk about, should we use the analogy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yes, I love this analogy.
So the
Please.
the analogy is that when you go to an art museum, it's sometimes you're looking at things on the wall and statues, and you're realizing that actually the building itself is a work of art. So for us, is that I mean, there's so much that just simply follows from physical things that we create.
Yeah.
So whether that's weaving it or not.
All right. Did you talk about a word? I know Chris gave his
Oh, we had to
opinion
come up
about
with
the
a
word.
Charisse had a great word.
What word did I have? Because I have so many.
Just putting her on the spot.
Last time it was money.
We had all the words.
It was a good one.
Yeah, money was just,
Money, that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
no, it was
I'm
not.
teasing. We didn't talk about it.
Okay, so we'll
We were
work
getting
on the
punchy.
word.
It was,
Yeah.
getting pretty punchy at the
But I
end.
think we would agree that there's a fourth column.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and we've got the 2 final activities that we need to do, so.
Before we do.
Yeah, please.
When you had these options,
Yeah.
are we to kind of zone in on one or two of these?
So
or
I think
what?
we had asked in your pre-work to, and this will be part of our very last activity, to identify the 3 that you liked. And so I have a process for how in your group she'll talk about.
Okay, because I didn't know what that really
Yeah.
meant. You said options, and I,
Yeah,
okay,
we'll
okay.
get there. The groups for this, we're just gonna do this as a full group because it might save some time because I want you to have enough time to talk about vision and mission. So we'll still split it into these 2 woven strategies. And I want you to think about like how do these 2 aspects of our work support some of these other strategic directions? What does this look like when we're thinking about what we want to see? And we'll start with partnerships. So you can think specifically about how are we using partnerships? What does that look like in the context of these other strategic directions and goals that we want to achieve? So I just kind of want to open your thoughts about where do you see partnerships fitting in? What things are we considering as because the library obviously already has a lot of partnerships, right? So thinking about how are we aligning some of these partnerships and what we're doing with these strategic directions.
So that there are potential partnerships with respect to every one of our constituencies.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as a means to an end. I mean, I think there's a place for partnerships in almost anything that we take on.
And I think this is driven by the fact that resources are limited throughout the community. And so if we don't do that, we're going to die.
Yeah,
So it's part of good stewardship.
yeah, that's good.
I mean, there's also a cost to partnerships too, right? So how do we decide, and there's endless possibilities too. So how do we get strategic about our partnerships? What should we consider?
The ROI again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? So what are some of those factors that we should think about?
Some of them might be how well they help us achieve our goals.
Yes.
And some might have a fundraising aspect to them. They help us raise revenues.
I would say whether they're reputable to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
A win-win,
Mm-hmm.
so it's usually good for both partners.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah.
And in essence, we do have our partnerships with the foundation and the Friends.
Sure.
So that's our
Yeah.
internal, but those are still,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there particular strategic directions that lend themselves more to partnerships versus others? Like, as you had these 4 discussions, were there areas that you thought, oh, this would be, yeah, we need to talk to this particular group, or think about working with someone on this?
So you mean specifics?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it might help us to be
youth-
specific.
Youth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
means,
is-
Sure.
School district,
Mhm.
Boys and Girls Club,
Mm-hmm.
service clubs,
Maybe even the park district.
Park District programs,
Mm-hmm.
school, yeah, you did schools.
Champaign institutions,
Mm-hmm.
library organizations that are more national.
Yeah.
I think looking at our kind of pillars that we talked about, the empower one, I think would be the one that would benefit the most
Mhm.
from partnerships.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Amanda, add tech community.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And of course, the University of Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
big one.
But avoid duplication.
That's a good one, yeah, to go down there on the bottom. About mission alignment.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other partnership thoughts?
What, I think somebody said, I'm looking to see if it's here, it has to be a good fit. In other words, we don't want to
Yes.
partner with. um,
Isn't that really what
Well,
you're
that's what I'm
saying?
saying, it helps us achieve our goals, so,
Yeah.
you kind of
Maybe
want
certain
to.
union
But
organizations.
isn't that
too.
aligned with a mission alignment?
It-
Because
it is.
we're really,
Yeah.
if they're not in tune with what we're doing and they're in doing, it doesn't not gonna work.
Right.
So I just kind of see that one as overriding.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend a lot of time
Yeah.
kind of cultivating a relationship, but if you're not aligned with mission,
Yeah.
like, that's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
Mhm. Okay.
What was this last one?
A good
Good
fit,
fit.
which I think it goes, same,
Yeah.
it's all, you know, it's
Same
all the
idea.
Oh,
same,
yeah.
same there, which is
Yeah,
fine.
but sometimes that goes beyond just mission alignment, sometimes that goes to like staff that's
Yeah.
involved, or
Oh, yeah.
willingness
Yes.
of.
Personalities.
Personalities.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. Yeah, fit is a lot of different characteristics.
Yeah, what I was thinking of was some things may detract from what we're trying to accomplish. So it could achieve a lot of the other goals that we've been mentioning, but still not be the right thing to do.
So,
The association is, we may not want to be associated with certain,
so minimizing detractions.
yeah, the importance of minimizing detractions from the partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not every partnership's perfect. There's gonna
Right.
be
Yes,
give and
exactly.
take trade-offs and that sort of thing, but you wanna make sure a majority of these boxes are ticked as you're moving forward. Okay. Let me put this behind you here and let's talk about marketing and outreach. We can add to this if we think of anything else. Okay, so kind of the same questions, like how does marketing and outreach weave into these strategic directions?
Well, I think it helps us connect with some of our targeted audiences.
Mhm.
Well, that's why you do it, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was a strategy, but, and maybe I can go, but somehow my cheat sheet's gone. So I look, yeah,
I stole it,
I know.
sorry.
Like, oh, I gotta remember, but you know, so the targeted audiences are the ones that we had pulled out in these other
Right.
areas. So that's yeah.
Yeah.
And so and there are examples in there somewhere. I just can't remember 'em.
So, and part of that's just awareness, right?
Yes.
Like, we could do all the stuff that we've written on the
Yes.
walls, but if people don't know about
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, so,
I think that's been one of our obstacles that we identified.
Yes.
is
Yes,
that people
yes.
don't know.
Sure.
awareness, it's also a little bit of an education as well. So awareness is, you know, what we
yes.
do, but the education is, you know, how they can make use of what they've become aware of.
So, but that's also getting into narrative and perceptions of
Yes.
people about the library,
Yeah.
community perception.
Mhm.
This can also engender support, because there would be people that may
Yes.
not use our resources but would still support us.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. How else might marketing and outreach be important as we work towards these goals?
Well, it's strengthening, I'm thinking of all the reasons why people market, it's strengthening our consumer base.
Yes.
Uh,
I think it also helps us identify those partnerships that are out there.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a big one.
What about the library brand?
Oh, yeah, it promotes the library brand.
Yeah.
And then somehow there I want it, that we have helps create connections, but it also strengthens the existing
Yeah.
connections.
Mm,
And, you know,
mhm.
so it maintains connections as well, which is,
Retention.
yeah.
Okay. Are there any of the 4 pillars that would particularly lean on marketing and outreach as a strategy?
Well, the fourth one is all that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But the first one, the embracing of your trying to.
Mhm.
Yeah, they all do,
Yeah.
probably.
Sure, okay. Any other thoughts on marketing and outreach? Okay, put this up there too, if we want to add to it later, we can do that. But I want to get you moved on to vision and mission, so you've got some time to think about that. You have new groups, so Chris, Beth, and Lupe over here, along with Barbara Jones, who's left her notes. John, Michael, Sharice, and Barbara, and it's not here, but over there. I've put your worksheets over there already, so you have a process here. You've got your outlines with different statements. And the first thing I want you to do is go around and identify your top 2. Which 2 do you like? See if there's some consensus. And then your worksheet asks you to, what do you like about the statement? So let's say your group decides like, yeah, we like these 2, we're not sure, we can't come to one. But what do you like about that vision statement? What would make it better, in your opinion? And then what do you like about the mission? What would make it stronger? I want you to talk about them in conjunction, kind of flow, because as you'll remember, vision is that aspirational thing that we want to achieve in the community. So it's visionary, it's something that's kind of out there that we aspire to do. And mission is very practical, how we're going to carry that out. So they do relate to each other. And so think about that as you're talking too. So I'll let you get your groups. I'm not going to put a time limit on this because we'll see how it goes and how you're coming to consensus. Okay?
Do I have a motion
Your
to,
motion to approve the consent agenda?
second?
Second.
Do you want to ask if anyone wants to take anything out of it?
Just question.
Do you want to take anything out,
Oh.
remove anything?
I didn't write that note in. Does anybody have any item they would like to remove from the consent agenda or adjust? Hearing none, the motion stands, the second stands. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I thank you. Action items, the resolution to convey property of the city.
No, that's, Chris, that's the old one.
Here,
Is it?
let me see if I
Move
can,
acceptance of the strategic plan learning report.
okay, here.
Remember you had the two packets, what was the
Here,
old one?
this one, here's the first one.
Oh, accept the strategic plan learning report.
So moved.
This, second?
Second.
All those, this is the report that we got last month.
Yep.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ayes have it.
Okay, approved. Resolution to approve.
I think you gotta read the,
Resolution 1908, 2019
dash, oh wait.
208, is that what it is?
Dash
That's
08,
the-
here.
that's
Let's
what
see
it
if I
is.
can hear it.
I'm sorry.
Blow it up a
Name of the
little bit.
resolution.
To approve.
Name of the resolution.
There.
Clean as white whistle custodial service contract.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Very
Do you want
important.
Frank copy?
Opposed?
The third one is where do we have
Any opposed?
No.
any opposed? Okay,
Discussion, is that what you were?
Well-
Just wanted to call the motion.
I'm not calling
carries.
for discussion. If
Oh.
anybody that wants to discuss, they can. We approved. The third one, the thank you to Anka.
So we should dwell on this one for a bit.
Is there item? Is there an item?
It's in our materials.
Yeah.
Well, but is there something
Yes.
physical?
Yes,
Oh.
cool.
Would you please come forward, Anka? I've had a discussion with Anka last meeting, and I feel that she hit the ground running better than any staff member that we have had for a while since in my term. And I really hate to see her go. I think she should have moved her mother here and continued. But she's got a good job lined up, and I'm hoping she's happy. And I never knew, and I suppose many of you did, that she speaks wonderful German.
Ausgezeichnet.
And thank you, Anka, very much.
Thank you very much.
Do you wish to address?
Do we have a resolution?
Do you want to read the resolution?
Not really. Let's,
wanna
can we-
Yeah, would you like me to read it?
yeah, let's not.
Okay,
Well,
so we have a
brief it.
resolution
Yeah.
to thank Anka Voss for her years of service. Whereas, beginning on October 24th, 2005, Anka Voss has diligently served the Urbana community by working at the Urbana Free Library as the Director of Special Collections and also the Director of Facilities beginning in 2017. And whereas the library and the Champaign County Historical Archives have thrived and expanded, with Anka playing an integral role in that success. And whereas Anka has advanced the excellent work of the archives by facilitating the local history online Polaris migration, initiating oral history projects with the League of Women Voters of Champaign County and the Illinois Nurses Association, her involvement with the Champaign County Museums Network, creating an intergovernmental agreement with the Champaign County Circuit Court, acquiring the Chanute Collection and facilitating access, organizing archives annex spaces to increase access, receiving the Community Webs Grant, participating in the leadership of the Midwest Archives Conference Council, attending the Archives Leadership Institute, and whereas Anka has done outstanding facilities work by coordinating replacement of the library's chiller, overseeing the revitalization of the historic Race Street front porch of the Samuel T. Busey Memorial Library, and whereas Anka has influenced many people in the library profession by mentoring future librarians at the iSchool at Illinois, where she's an adjunct lecturer, and here at the Urbana Free Library, where she has worked with countless interns, apprentices, and practicum students, and by being the interim Adult and Youth Services Director, and whereas Anka is taking on a new challenge elsewhere. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Urbana Free Library Board of Trustees, Urbana, Illinois, does hereby extend to Anka its sincere thanks and appreciation for a job well done.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Anka. Resolution 2019-10 to approve the agreement between the Urbana Free Library and Fair Graham Engineering for library staff parking lot improvement project. This, as I understand it, is the agreement. It is not necessarily that it's been approved, and bids and all those are not in this, right?
So those are two pieces. So Fairgraham was approved, and this is a contract with Fairgraham for engineering services.
For the engineering services, it's not the part, the cost factors is not here.
Well, yes.
For the engineering part of it.
No, well,
Is
the cost factor for the engineering, yes, it's $35,000.
Yeah.
But that is not the actual reconstruction of the parking
Yeah,
lot. The
yeah, that's what
reconstruction of the parking lot will be a separate bidding process, which will take place in the spring.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Revise the archives collection policy. I think I had something. Did anybody have anything on that?
The collection management policy,
Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward.
I think there was some question I had.
It got to do with technology.
May I please have your attention? Except for the board meeting, which is currently in progress, the Urbana Free Library will close in 5 minutes. Please check out all materials
okay.
now.
My question is on item K,
Genealogy.
through the donation, a gift or purchase. And in my mind, purchase is every bit as good as the word donation, but better than gift. I mean, purchase and gift are more parallel than gift and purchase. I guess I'd like to see donation left. Does anybody have any feel about that at all? Item K, genealogy.
I can tell you one reason that was changed. It was actually one of my colleagues who also is very astute English bachelor and master's graduate noticed that it was inconsistent in that earlier in the collection development policy, the word gift is used. So we tried, by removing donation, we're trying to be consistent by using the word gift throughout the policy.
So it's some other document that would have to be changed if we were to.
It's the same document. There's
Okay.
another reference to gift, and I don't have that with me at this moment.
It's splitting hairs, but gift to me is not necessarily, there might be a donation. I don't know.
The legal form that our donors sign when it is a matter of transferring collections, copyright, and physical property to the Urbana Free Library, what they sign is a deed of gift.
Is a deed of gift.
Yes, which is a
Okay,
standard.
that
It's a legal term, so.
That answers it.
So for
Standard legal
consistency.
term.
Yeah.
So by using deed of gift makes it more consistent, then it's not considered a deed of donation.
And page 4 of 5 is the other reference to
Okay.
gifts. Section H is the reference to gifts.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
I said the motion carries.
The photography and records policy. I saw nothing there. Any questions? Do I hear a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I thank you for that. We have no discussion items. Moving on to the Friends of the Library. I don't know of anything, do you?
The book sale, they raised over $6,000, so it was $800 up from the same time last year.
Whoa.
Okay. Foundation? I didn't go to that meeting, so I,
Moving ahead on working towards the annual campaign and capacity building for the foundation board members.
okay. Heartland, anything there?
Continues their regular operations and has recently announced an IHLS Members Day, which will be held in November. Professional development available for libraries and library staff in the southern part of the state.
Any questions of our director, or do you want to add anything to the administrative report?
It's very comprehensive, nicely done.
I see no unfinished business, no new business.
Why do you stick with the banquet?
Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Thank you for a nice evening.